Hello, I'm Chris Bonpastori, a Technical Support Advisor at Quest. In this video, we will be going over the basic setup tasks of Privilege Manager for Windows. We will discuss the basic setup tasks located in the Getting Started section of the console, covering selecting target domains, creating a GPO with default rules, and configuring a server. These should be the first steps completed after installing the console. The Privilege Manager console is initially configured to allow you to manage the privilege elevation settings for the domain to which the local computer belongs. In addition, the console also allows you to manage other domains in your forest. Privilege Manager will work across multiple domains within a single forest, if the appropriate domain permissions are configured. The Enterprise Admin Active Directory account must be used with the Privilege Manager console. Using the Privilege Manager console across multiple domains in a single forest is allowed. However, if you're looking for our best practices, the recommendation is that each domain within the forest has a completely separate installation of Privilege Manager. In the Getting Started section of the navigation pane, select Setup Tasks, and then click Select Target Domains in the right-hand pane. In the window that will open, check or uncheck the domain names that will be used. As an optional step, you may choose which domain controller will be used. By default, it will use any available domain controller. To change this, highlight the domain name and click the Select DC button to open the Select Domain Controller dialog. Specify the exact domain controller that the console will communicate with. As a note, you can create the GPO rules only on a domain where you have right permissions for the GPOs. Click OK. The next option is Create GPO with Default Rules. This will launch a wizard that will walk you through the creation of rules by allowing you to choose from a list of useful default rules that you can add to a new or existing GPO. This step is optional, as rules can be created manually in the Group Policy Settings section. However, this is a good opportunity to get a few rules set up quickly. Double-click Create GPO with Default Rules to open the wizard. Read the text in the Introduction dialog and click Next. Select your operating system from the drop-down menu and select the corresponding rules from a list of common rules. And then click Next. In the Select Target GPO dialog, select or create a GPO to assign the rule to. You can select a GPO from the list under the domain that your local computer is part of, or select a domain, click the Create GPO button, name it, and then click OK. The newly created GPO will be added to the All GPOs list in the Group Policy Objects container. You can also link any GPO not marked with the icon to your domain or Active Directory OU. Click Finish to save and apply the rule. To view the newly created rules, under the Group Policy Settings section, select GPO with Policy Settings. Expand out Group Policy Objects and select the GPO that was created. On the right-hand side, you can see the privilege elevation rules and also the blacklist rules that were created. At this point, you can edit any rules further by highlighting the rule and either clicking Details or double-clicking on the rule. The last option under the basic settings is Configure a Server. This may be a bit confusing as you have already installed the Privilege Manager console. The console is the management application and is used to create and manage rules within the group policy. When you launch the application to edit GPOs, you are using the console. As for the server, what we will be configuring now is a back-end service which is needed to automatically deploy the client, as well as enable reporting, discovery, and remediation. This is only available in Privilege Manager Professional and Professional Evaluation editions. Double-click Configure a Server. Because this is a new installation, we need to click on Setup Configure the Privilege Manager server on this computer first. The Privilege Manager for Windows Server Setup Wizard will open. Set the port for the web service. The PA Reporting Data Collection web service listens for incoming data from the clients on port 8003 by default. The firewall must be configured to allow communication over any port you select. If you have a firewall enabled, the Add an Application exception to the firewall for this service will be visible, and you can check the box to add UDP and TCP rules to the firewall exceptions list to allow inbound traffic for the service on the local computer. Under the optional section, Server Email Notification Configuration, select the server to use for email notifications of self-service requests and scheduled reports. Fill in the following fields: hostname. Enter the SMTP server name of the email account from which you are going to send your emails. For the SMTP port number, enter the port number that would be used. If necessary, enter the authentication information and check the SSL checkbox. Finally, in the From Email field, enter the corresponding email address. Now you can click the Send Test Email button to send an email to the account specified within the From Email field, and then click Next. On the next screen, we're going to select a SQL Server instance to use for the PA reporting database. If this is a new installation and there is not an existing SQL Server instance you can connect to, then select Download and install a local instance of Microsoft SQL Server. If there is already an existing SQL Server instance, select Use an existing SQL Server instance to connect to an existing local or remote SQL instance. Because this is a new installation, I'm going to click Download and install local instance and click Next. On this screen, we're going to set up a super user group, credentials that will be used for the data collection web service account and the database service account. We will first verify the default user group and user accounts will be granted administrative privileges in the Privilege Manager for Windows reporting database. This group will be configured as the super user group. If a different group is required, click the Browse button to locate it using Active Directory. Next, in the Data Collection Web Service Account section, enter the password of the account that will be used to run the data collection service. This account requires local administrative rights. Finally, you can use the SQL Server Express Service Account section to enter a new account for the SQL Server service. So now we will click Next. At this point, we're going to install some prerequisites for the installation of the SQL Server. Click Next to install the prerequisites and launch the services. During the installation, a command prompt window may be shown for a short period of time. And this is the final screen, which will install SQL Server Express and the services for Privilege Manager. Click Next to begin the installation. When the data collection service is completed, you'll get this pop-up. Press OK, and then click Finish. Now you can see that the fields have been populated, and then our Privilege Manager server has been configured. And this concludes the basic setup of Privilege Manager for Windows. To learn more about Privilege Manager, visit support.quest.com/privilege-manager-4-Windows.